everybody, it's Kim Kenny Mott, and today I'm going to show you something that is one of my favorite comfort foods, but was always a little bit fattening and made me feel a little bit guilty whenever I made it. So I made a lighter version of it. It's shepherd's pie, and usually you use lamb, but today I'm going to use 93% lean beef. I don't normally like that lean beef because it's usually very dry to me, and it's kind of cardboard texture to me anyway. I've tried many times and I just don't really like it. So I always tend to go for the fattier cuts of meat. But I discovered that if you take your beef, which I have right here, I have 93% ground beef, and I took a little bit of baking soda and I mixed it with a little bit of water. I seasoned the beef with salt and pepper and put that baking soda mixture on top, and I mixed it around, and I kind of flaked it up with my fork, and there's a reason for that, and I'll show you later. But it really tenderizes the meat and makes it so that the leaner cuts will be more palatable and taste juicier to me. I want to say juicier, but it just maybe just seems like, because it's not as dry tasting. So I'm using 93% ground beef, and I'm also, instead of mashed potatoes on the top, which is delicious, I'm using mashed cauliflower. And lots of vegetables, and actually this is a pretty healthy version of shepherd's pie, so I think you'll really like it. So I'm going to show you my stove. I'm going to cook it right now. I'm going to start my heat. And bear with me while I move my video camera. Okay, so I have my pot heating up right here. And I am going to add, I have just a little bit of vegetable oil in the bottom, just so I can saute my vegetables. And I'm going to add my carrots. Let me turn this up a little bit. My onions and my carrots. I just diced them up into bite-sized pieces. And I have some mushrooms that I cut up into chunks. I like it kind of chunky because the mushrooms really do, they get really small when you cook them. So I like to keep them in fairly good sized chunks. And I'm going to add some salt and pepper to this. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, actually a lot of pepper because I like pepper. And I'm going to mix that around, and I'm just going to let this cook for a few minutes until it starts to wilt. I really don't want to burn it, or I don't want it to really brown a lot. Just a little bit. So shepherd's pie to me is one of my favorite comfort foods, and it's great for a cold day, and right now it's like the second day of spring. So it's cold and it's rainy, so I thought, you know what, I'm making shepherd's pie. I've been wanting to make it all winter long, and I just haven't had a chance. And I also didn't want to make a real fattening meal. I mean, it's spring and we all want to start thinking about getting into our summer clothes, so I figured this version out, and I think it came out really well, and I really like it. And I think you will too. So I have this sauteing, and I'm going to speed this up a little bit so that you don't sit here and watch the vegetables cook. Okay, so my vegetables are nice and wilted. So I'm going to add my tomato paste. I have a little bit of tomato paste in a squeeze tube, which I love because sometimes you only need a little bit of tomato paste. So these little squeeze tubes are great. You don't have a whole bunch left over. I'm going to swirl that around a little bit, and I'm going to add my garlic. And I'm just going to let that get nice and brown on the bottom. Let it caramelize. The tomato will caramelize. I don't want to burn the garlic though, so this is only going to take like 30 seconds. And I'm going to take some flour. I have whole wheat flour. I always use whole wheat. You can use regular flour because this will help thicken the gravy a little bit. And I'm just going to toss it around. I want the flour taste to cook out of it, but I don't want it to burn. Okay, I'm going to add a couple of shots of Worcestershire sauce and a little bit of pork. Not too much. Pork is a very strong flavor and I don't want to overpower the dish, but I just want to add a little bit of that, and then I'm going to pour in my beef broth. And I'm going to scrape up all those good brown bits off the bottom of the pan. That's where all the flavor is. You want to make sure you get them all up. Alright, now this is where, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to add some thyme, a couple of sprigs of thyme. I have a bay leaf and I have some dried rosemary. I would rather have fresh rosemary, but I didn't have it, so I'm just putting dry. Alright, this is where the flaked beef comes. I mentioned that I flaked it with my fork. Well, I'm going to, instead of browning the beef in the pan, which can actually toughen it a little bit, especially since it's so lean, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to break it up into little pieces. Not too big. I want them to be just bite-sized. It takes a few minutes, but it's worth it. And this way, the beef doesn't get tough on you when you sear it in a pan. It just simmers inside the liquid, and it just cooks through. And this whole thing really doesn't take very long. It's a really quick dish to get going. You can make it ahead, which is great. You can make it a day ahead of time. You don't even have to assemble it until you're ready to cook it. Okay, so I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit so that this can simmer. I'm going to mix it around, and I'm going to put the top on and just let it cook for a few minutes until the beef is cooked through, and I'll be right back. Okay, it's been maybe 5 minutes, and you can see the beef is nice and cooked. I'm going to fish out the bay leaf and the thyme, since we don't need that anymore. I guess that's it. Oh, there it is. Alright, so I'm going to turn this down a little bit. And I'm going to add some frozen peas. You can add them frozen, it doesn't matter. I just happen to thaw mine out a little bit. Just want to add them at the last minute so they don't overcook. And I'm going to add just a little slurry of cornstarch and water. Just a little bit, because it's going to make the sauce a little silkier and help thicken it up even more. Bring that back to a boil. And I'm going to taste it for seasoning, see if it needs any more salt. Nope, that's perfect. It's really, really good. Alright, now this is just about done. I'm going to let it simmer for another minute, and then I'm going to assemble the shepherd's pies. Okay. So for my mashed cauliflower, I have a whole bunch of cauliflower in my food processor, and I steamed it so it was nice and fork tender. I don't want it to get too mushy because I do like a little bit of a consistency to my my cauliflower. I like mashed potatoes that aren't too smooth either. I like a little bit of chunks. So it all depends on how you like it. You can steam it for a long time until it's almost falling apart if you really want silky smooth cauliflower, but I prefer not to quite do it so much. So here's my cauliflower. It's still hot, And while it's hot, which is good, I have a little bit of cream cheese here. It's not very much, just a little bit. I like to add that instead of heavy cream and butter. I just find it has a really good texture with the cauliflower, since it's not like a potato. It's a little bit watery, so I don't want to add too much liquid to it. And I'm going to add some pepper, as much as you like, and Parmesan cheese. This, to me, is the best in mashed potatoes. I add kind of a lot. This is a few tablespoons here. It's all about how you like it, but it's not going to really taste like heavy Parmesan cheese. It's just, but it's going to have that really good flavor, like an umami flavor. And I'll add salt afterwards. The Parmesan cheese just does have a lot of salt in it, so I don't want to add it right now. I'll wait until after I blend it all up. So I'm going to blend it right now until it's nice and smooth. So bear with me with the noise. Now the cream cheese was room temperature, which is really what you need to do so it'll melt really well. And the fact that the cauliflower is hot will make it so it melts too. I'm just going to taste it just to see if I need any more salt, which I do. I'm going to add some salt. And that should be good. And now that looks really, really good. That looks perfect. Scrape my top. There. One last taste just to make sure. That's really, really good. You're not going to miss the potato in this recipe. I can promise you that. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside and we're going to assemble our pot pies. Alright, so now I'm ready to assemble my pies. I love doing individual servings. These hold about 2 cups plus. I love that because it's instant portion control. Of course you can put it in a big container or a big, crock of some sort and serve it family style. That's fine. It's all just depends on how you like to do it. I only made a half a batch because my batch makes 4 individual big servings, but I only made a half because I made the other half so you could see it already cooked. So I'm going to assemble these right now. Since this is hot, I don't want to burn myself. So I have my little crocks, which I lightly sprayed with cooking spray. And I'm going to divide this amongst both. As you can see, these portions are pretty good size. I'm going to scrape every bit out of this pot because it's so delicious. I don't want to waste any. Yum. Alright, now I have these in my bowls, and my mashed cauliflower I have right here. And I am going to put a lot of cauliflower on top. Why not? Because it's healthy. You can eat a lot more. That's my theory anyway. Nothing wrong with that, right? Just pile it right on top. Now, this was one huge head of cauliflower. This is half of it. The other half is on top of the pot pies that I'm going to show you in a minute. So it just goes to show you how much you can really pile on one huge head. Of course, if you didn't have such a big head of cauliflower, you just would use a little bit less. All right. Now I like to take a fork and then just put little knobby things all over the top of it so that part will get nice and brown. And then in order to help it brown a little bit more, I'm going to just spray it with a little cooking spray because I did not put any butter in the cauliflower, so it's going to help brown it a little bit. So you're going to put this in under the broiler if it's really hot, like just now it's really hot, so it doesn't need to be heated up anymore. I'm going to put it in the broiler and then broil the top until it's nice and golden and really, really delicious looking. And that will be it. You know, 15-20 minutes depending on your broiler. My broiler is a little slow, so if you want to make these ahead of time, you can. I mean, just like this, and then just stick them in the oven. I would say 350, 375 until the top was nice and brown. And even if it heats up, you can put it on the broiler at the last second to crisp up the top. But I have some that I just took out of the oven. It's a little hot. And here they are. Oh my goodness, they look so good. I'm going to show you one up close. Doesn't that look really, really, really good? Oh, yum. And just sprinkle it with some cut chives or some parsley to make it nice and pretty. And serve it with a nice salad on the side, and you have yourself a really healthy and delicious shepherd's pie. I know I said pot pie before when I was making the cauliflower, but actually this would make a really good crust for pot pie too. That just gave me another idea. Anyway, I'm going to taste a little bit because I can't wait. It's going to be so hot though, I don't want to burn my mouth. Now that is pure comfort. And I'm not going to feel full and disgusting when I'm finished. All right. Everybody, I hope you try this recipe. It's really, really good. And I know spring is here, so we're all happy about that, even though it's still a little chilly out here where I live. And I hope everybody has a great day. And if you want these recipes, go to the Total Gym Pulse blog and you will find it. Okay, bye.